Early morning. Let's explore meditation visions. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as profoundly as Ahsoka Tano on Lothal, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question about Buddhist meditation, philosophy, or even chanting, there's no need to be shy. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. This morning on Reddit, forgive my pronunciation, Gyatso65 asked about visions while meditating. And they wrote, sometimes when I meditate, I get lost in a scenario. I'm not talking about a thought of my own or a scene I'm creating. This feels like other people's situations, and I'm going to stop right here. Over multiple decades, I've worked with people from many spiritual and quasi-spiritual organizations, and amongst the most dysfunctional are questions like, is this coming from me or from someone else? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. There is a great irony. Explore this with me if you dare. There's the path of trying to become great, the path of trying to convince others you're already great, or the great path. And they're three different things. Let's continue. So, if we are trying to convince others of how monumentally spiritual we are, we have already lost the path. Let's continue. They are always different. It could be following a journey of someone's pregnancy or looking in on someone's relationship. It feels like I'm watching a movie sometimes. I don't recognize the people I see, and the situation isn't something I know about. It's always random. It doesn't always happen in meditation, and they do not feel like my own thoughts. And that's the most important thing here. They do not feel like my own thoughts. That's super important. Because we have no way of knowing. We have evolved, all vertebrate life on this planet evolved to think symbolically, going all the way back to when all life began in the ocean. First we perceived, and then we began recalling perceptions and anticipating perceptions. A very long time before they had the capacity for words and reason. So the very foundation of our mind is based on symbolic thought. So the pioneers of dream interpretation said that in one's dream, the dreamer is everyone. Is that correct? Is that incorrect? There is no way to know. But the more rigid we are, the least accurate we will be, and the more harm we will do ourselves. Conversely, the more flexible we are. Well, I don't know if it's that way, but it feels that way. The more flexible we are, the least harm we will do ourselves. Let's continue on. Now, after boasting in their awesomeness, they finally come to a question. Has anyone else experienced this? I just don't know what it means. It means absolutely nothing. Every night, while we are asleep, we dream several times every night. Is it that's outlandish to think that the same mechanism that causes us to dream between nighty night and wakey wakey can make us dream while we are sitting in meditation? Of course not. We are not comic book heroes come to use our great psychic powers to change the world. How then can we change the world? Through the power of compassion and patience and simplicity. What do we do? What is the most productive thing that we can do with our visions or dreams that occur during meditation? As we breathe in, notice them vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. What's the most efficient way of doing that? What's the easiest way of doing that? Simple. During each in-breath, as you are reminding yourself to sit up tall, silently and mentally recite the phrase, notice this. What else can we do to truly make our visions meaningful? During each exhalation, we can let go of them. How do we do that? Here's the irony. We are because of evolution, every healthy mammal is already wired to access their parasympathetic nervous system during each exhalation, which makes them or causes them to both physically relax and mentally release. Well, if noticing and releasing are already hardwired into our autonomic nervous system, why bother meditating? Because it gives us, the very complex primates that we are, the opportunity to align our intention with our, metaphorically, factory installed programming. The more in harmony we are with the inner therapist that is our autonomic nervous system, the less we will fight it, and the more happy and well-adjusted we'll be. According to the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching, meditation is crucial to forsaking our yang tendencies of being rigid and controlling, and instead embracing our yin potential to be flexible and laid back, to, as it were, go with the flow, to live not in the two toxic extremes of contrivance or scatteredness, but instead to live in the center point, the middle point of centered spontaneity. This will set space for our choices and utterances and deeds to flow from a place of centered spontaneity in the most wonderful way. Before we move on to beginning our formal practice, let's take a minute for housekeeping. Every day I live stream 4 meditation classes without any ads, health permitting. With your assistance, this channel could help support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If this sounds good to you and you'd like to help out, even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month, just use your smartphone's camera to capture this QR code, or if you're old school, just scroll down to the description area below the video and click one of the donation links. At last, we have come to the latest iteration of Easy Meditations Proto-Zen. Let's begin by briefly invoking the real or imagined archetype of enlightened compassion. I found that by pressing my palms together before my chest helps to create sensations in my body as if my real or imagined energies were centering. Namo Quan Chi Yin Pu San, 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 Namo Quan Chi Yin Pu San. It has been said that when Zen Master Dogen was returning from his training in China to Japan, the ship he was in a great storm, and he spent his time in the midst of that storm invoking Quan Shin Pusa, who in Japan is known as Kwanzian Bosatsu. But because he's been speaking Chinese for many years in China, he might have been invoking it in Chinese, as we just did. Now let us chant the Heart of Wisdom Sutra, which is attributed to Quan Yin. Let's just chant it melodically. The Numalava Gedeshvara Bodhisattva, while practicing the deep practice of Prajnaparamita, looked upon the 5 skandhas and seeing they were empty of self-existence. Siddhi Putra form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. Whatever is form is emptiness, whatever is emptiness is form. We've just used the word emptiness 7 times without defining it, so I'm going to take a minute to explain it to you right now. The rigid folk tend to approach emptiness literally, and it results in either exhausting themselves with pseudo-intellectual skullduggery or the superstition of blind faith. I recommend neither. Let us choose the path of yin and instead flexibly approach emptiness as if it was figurative. When we do that, it's quite simple. As we exhale and relax, whatever we noticed during our previous in-breath can now feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. What's an example of a non-graspable, a vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, is ungraspable to the hand. There you go. Emptiness demystified. Let's continue. The same holds for sensation and perception, memory, and consciousness. And take a quick moment for an edit. Try to edit one passage per session. Let's see here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm emphasizing the first vowel and the second to the last vowel of each couplet or triplet. Let's continue. Hishari pudra dhamma so defined by emptiness, not by birth or destruction, purity or defilement, completeness or deficiency. So, because of the way that vertebrates evolved upon this planet, the autonomic and the sympathetic and parasympathetic facets of our autonomic nervous system, which we access involuntarily during each inhalation and exhalation, is the key to helping us be perceptive yet free. Not free from the experience of hating, craving, and clinging, but rather free from its tyranny. Let's continue. Therefore, Shadi Mudra, in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, no perception, no memory, and no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, and no mind. No shape, no sound, no smell, no taste, no feeling, and no thought. No element of perceptions from mind to conceptual consciousness. No causal link from consciousness to old age and death. No end of causal link from consciousness to old age and death. No suffering, no source, no relief, no path. No knowledge, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Wherever we feel we are on the spiritual path, whatever we perceive during our inhalation, we have the potential to release, at least to a certain degree, during our exhalation. That's what all these no's mean. There's nothing we can observe that we cannot release. Therefore, Shariputra, without attainment, bodhisattvas take refuge in Prajnaparamita and live without the wall of the mind. 6 walls can a prison make, and we're told that this practice of wisdom's perfection of noticing and releasing can free us from that prison. Without walls of the mind and thus without fears, they see through delusions and finally accomplish nirvana. All Buddhas, past, present, and future, also take refuge in Prajnaparamita and realize and excel perfect enlightenment. You should therefore know the great mantra of Prajnaparamita, the mantra of great magic, the unexcelled mantra. So the great mantra of Prajnaparamita is not a magical recitation which gives us access to paramita. Au contraire, we're using, once again, figures of speech. And we're using Prajnaparamita as saying it's as powerful as the world's most spectacular mantra. We're using metaphor, or in this case, simile. The mantra equal to the unequal, which heals all suffering and is true, not false. The mantra of Prajnaparamita is spoken thus. Gate bada some gate booty swan. May my practice of noticing and releasing help me to go, completely go, completely and perfectly go to enlightenment's mastery of the Eightfold Path. So let's take a few moments just to play with body mechanics. We can set it and then forget it. One of the cool things about truly effective meditation is that, and rather than fighting our body, the product of a very long evolutionary process, we are cooperating with our body. During our inhalation, we can remember to sit as tall as we can. During our exhalation, we can remember to relax, whether coarsely or subtly. One of the easiest ways to effortlessly sit as tall as we can during our inhalation is to observe 3 points where we can observe the breath enter our body. Through the nostrils of our nose, through the diaphragm at the bottom of our rib cage, and from our lower abdomen, which is described by some Chinese American teachers as the lower dantian, and is described by some Japanese American teachers as the hara. So what I find useful during this exercise is during the inhalation to silently and mentally recite nose for nostrils, dia for diaphragm, deep for the lower abdomen, and then during the exhalation to silently and mentally recite relaxing. Now, this is not an opportunity for perfectionism. Perfectionism is the antidote for peace. Understand no one's perfect. No one does everything perfect all the time. So simply play with this and see if you can become more and more comfortable with allowing your breath to empower you to sit tall and then relax. During your out breath, when you silently and mentally recite the word relaxing, is an excellent opportunity to relax not only your body in its entirety, but specifically in your trapezius, so that you do not wear your shoulders as earrings. In the upper part of the screen, you can see in gray letters the phrase Easy Meditations Proto Zen. What do I mean by that? In the contemporary practice of Zen, there are two schools that are the most popular. One does not use any contemplations whatsoever. The other uses very, very, very cryptic contemplations that have nothing to do with the contemplations taught by Bodhidharma, the Indian Buddhist monk who is largely responsible for the popularization of Mahamudra meditation in China. In the text known as Outline of Practice, attributed to this Bodhidharma, contemplations taught that are very straightforward and in harmony with the Buddha's teachings. I've done my best to distill them into 4 contemplations and to format them as rhetorical questions. The nice thing about rhetorical questions is, number 1, they're easy. And number 2, they are effective. The reason they are effective is because they are rhetorical questions, they do not involve the belief of an affirmation, which is antithetical, which is all belief is a form of rigidity, a rigidity of mind, a rigidity of emotion, a rigidity of intellect that is antithetical to letting go. So I found this to be the most effective ways of downloading, liberating ideas, empowering ideas into the 3-pound squishy computer between our ears. Let's play with those 4 contemplations right now. During each inhalation, please silently and mentally recite, how could this? This is the first half of the rhetorical question. During each exhalation, please silently and mentally recite the second half of the rhetorical question, be quite just. Now, we do not play with these 4 contemplations to reveal profound truths, contrary to popular opinion. Why then do we play with these 4 contemplations? To help us to get better and better at letting go. That's it. The first thing we're going to let go of is victim-oriented rage. With our second rhetorical question, We can help to let go of our control. Well, the second rhetorical question could help us to release our controlling tendencies. I'm what some Americans may call a self-styled meditation teacher. I am what some Tibetans might call a Terton or a revealer of sky treasures. There are people who would say, I am Satan himself, come to drag you to hell. I would suggest to you that the test of a teacher is the efficacy of the teachings. And the efficacy of the teachings is not determined by other people's opinion of them, but by your experience of them. So if you play with these techniques once every 12 hours for 7 consecutive days, and at the end of those 7 days, you become so cranky that people call you Little Darth Vader, then you should go and find a better teacher. However, if at the end of those 7 days you experience greater peace and resiliency and joy and love, then you may find that that my teachings are helpful, and you may wish to continue with them. You take a chance either way. I leave it to you. For this third contemplation, we're going to let go of the labels that tend to imprison us. In the Tao Te Ching, we are warned that those who would define themselves can never know themselves. Remember, it's not our job to answer these questions. What then is our job? To silently and mentally recite these words in harmony with our inhalation, our exhalation, and our relaxation. Our fourth and final contemplation of this set helps us to access the natural empathy latent within the hub of our mirror neurons, our anterior cingulate gyrus, which is standard factory installed equipment for every healthy mammal. How could I free all beings? Free all beings from what? From not the presence of hating, craving, and clinging, the 3 mental poisons, but from their tyranny, so that we can feel them. We can feel anything, pleasurable or painful, ugly or glorious, yet not be controlled by them. And not have our choices, utterances, or deeds controlled by them. That is the liberation that the Buddha offers, and that we in turn, as his ambassadors, offer others. Not in an obnoxious, stand on someone's doorstep and ring their doorbell on a Saturday morning sort of way, but by our example. And through the flow of centered spontaneity. So we've explored contemplation, and we've explored at least the mechanics of meditation. Just as a dog or a cat sometimes has the zoomies and runs rampant all over your apartment, sometimes our minds are spontaneously active. That is not a flaw, that is a feature. And we can benefit profoundly from that mode of operation by using our mental zoomies as an opportunity to actively play with these four contemplations, not as a remedy to the zoomies, but as a way to profit from the zoomies. Similarly, just as every kitty cat or doggy does not always have the zoomies, but sometimes settles down for a rest, likewise, when it feels like it's time to rest our mind, we can sit in meditation, silently and mentally reciting, notice this with each inhalation, and silently and mentally reciting, relaxing with each exhalation. One is not superior to the others any more than you can ask a bird, which wing do you use to take to the sky? If the bird could understand and speak English, they would say, both, you daffy bastard. Without both wings, I cannot take to the skies. Similarly, without active mental phases and resting mental phases and the contemplations and meditations with which we make the most of them, there is no liberation. Now, I want to turn your attention to a note right here. First collection of 16 sets of 16 rounds. Let's explore what that means or how that works. I'm going to switch screens for a moment. And let's discuss Bengali crease counting. Here we go. With every time we inhale, we can advance our thumb. And we can count to 16, beginning with our little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's one set of 16 rounds. A round is the in-breath when we move our thumb and the out-breath when we don't move our thumb. We can count 16 sets of those 16 rounds, keeping track of the sets on our right hand. First set of 16, second set of 16, third set of 16, fourth set of 16. Doing so, we can count to 16 sets of 16 rounds or a total of 256 rounds, which can be a marvelous way to keep track of our sitting. It's not mandatory, it's just an option that some people find helpful. It can be tempting to label our experience. The only label we need ever use is the pronoun this. I learned the correlation between relaxing exhalation and release from many teachers, some Theravadan and some Tibetan. So here's a quick exercise which may improve your experience. Lean to the right, lean to the left. With your ears in alignment with your shoulders and your nose in alignment with your navel. Take a deep breath and release it. Now we're warmed up and centered. Let us seal our practice by training in wishing love, the second fold of the Eightfold Path. Let us begin with universal liberation. May I, like the Buddha, master the Eightfold Path as well as liberate all others. Kind ethics. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. Auspicious rebirth. May each being take auspicious rebirth, master the Buddha's path, and then help all others do likewise. Four immeasurables. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, freed. If you feel I have earned it, type something in the chat window, give this live stream a thumbs up, and share it on social media. In approximately 2 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's mid-morning meditation. May you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.